Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this HCTalk podcast. As always, I'm your host, Lance Gormley, and our guest on the program today is Newton City Commissioner and former Mayor Rod Kreie. How are you doing today, Rod?
I'm doing good, Lance.
Yeah.
It's good to be out here with the headphones on rather than peeking through the computer screen.
We do the updates, and that's a different way that we try to do that, so we Zoom that. But just want to, for this series especially, wanted to have everybody that I could out here on the program that's running for office. There'll be a few coming up with the school board and other communities even. But right now we're focusing on the city commission, and just really appreciate you coming out on the program. Ever since we started doing this, you've been out here a couple times. If you want to go back through the archives, you can see the life of Rod, where he just comes out and explains where he came from, where he grew up, family, the whole thing. But for the purposes of this interview, we just want to focus in specifically on your run for this most recent or this upcoming race. So just what I want to ask, Rod, and I know you pretty well. You're a mentor in my life, and you've always been someone who anybody that wants to learn or know or grow, you're always there. You spend countless hours doing that. I don't know very many people that do that. So just one thing that always intrigues me, especially knowing that for so many instances, people that sign up to run for a commission or a local seat, there's not a lot of money in our community that goes to that. It's somewhat, I don't want to call it a thankless job, but what I perceive is that there's a lot of negativity that gets thrown in your direction, even though you're trying like hell to do good for the community. And I don't want to call it thankless, but at times it could be challenging. And so then I'm somebody that wants to understand the why, right? With all of that happens and stuff, many people would be like, well, I don't want to do that, or I've done this and I definitely don't want to do it now. But why are you running again, Rod?
Well, I've always had the desire to they say a rising tide lifts all ships. And when I got here to Newton, it was so obvious to me that we had so many community assets that were underutilized. and we have a general constituency that was dissatisfied with almost anything anyone did in Harvey County or Newton in general. And there was pretty much an attitude, I felt like, that we live close to Wichita. Wichita gets all the good stuff. And so, how are we going to compete with that? Well, what I saw is we live close to Wichita and how big of an asset that was. And when a couple of the city commissioners asked me to run back when David Nygaard died, asked me to throw my name in the hat to be selected to replace him for the balance of his term, which is about a little under 2-year deal. I thought, well, let me get in here and see if I can figure something out. And I've always been well known for coming into a group and then making the group better than it was before I came into the group. That doesn't mean that the group, there was anything wrong with the group, but sometimes the stars align in a process that you're a part of, and you got the right people in the right place at the right time, and you actually can sit back and assess things and come up with a plan and because everybody understands the direction you need to head in to make things better, you increase your chances of something good happening exponentially. And even before I was selected to that process, I saw that there was a pathway to a better Newton. I knew it wouldn't be roses, and I knew there would be a few thorns along the way. I'll be the first one to say our taxes are too high, but I can tell you why. And it's not that anybody did anything wrong. It's just that we haven't taken advantage of all the things that we could take advantage of to make things better. And sadly, it's a long road. Economic development doesn't happen overnight. Just try to compare it with someone buying a car and setting it up for 72 months worth of payments, but you don't get to drive the car until you have it paid off. That's pretty much what economic development is. You get prospects and candidates, and by the grace of God, sometimes they like you and they select you, and you make it to the end of a process where if you really have your act together, you can have a great deal of influence on industrial prospects that are looking at your community. But you have to get in the room with them first, and a lot of that process, you oftentimes get excluded through the processes that they go through, and you never know why, and you hadn't yet got to talk to these people. So if we can get a site visit and actually meet with people, it really increases our chances of something good happening. But unfortunately, when those people come, to be competitive, you have to give tax abatements, and tax abatements are necessary for you to get through the first round or two of site selection, and so once you get these people here and have been successful at doing that, then from the time they start building, it might be, if it takes them 2 years to build, you don't assess tax against them to be abated until they get a certificate of occupancy. And so it could be 12 years, before like GAF starts making their first tax payment. And so it's a long process. It's like buying that car and you don't get to drive it until it's paid for. Only we finance this one for 144 months. Yeah. And once that happens, when just them goes on the books, it's likely to increase our assessed valuation as of what it is today by maybe 20 to 22%. So it's a big deal. Industrial development is a big deal, and I knew that when just after I moved here, I knew that Newton was a place that business wanted to be and could be turned into a business friendly community, and we're there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So in the beginning, and filling an unexpired term, you had a lot of weight on your shoulders when then the first time that you ran came around, right? Mm-hmm. Because you were there for 2 years, but you weren't elected, right? So people, for you to be successful in getting reelected, had to have faith and believe that that you had more to contribute. Yeah. And that people think that's. Well, it's just difficult. It's just difficult because at that point, as you said, because many things are a long progression, right? And you're in it for the long game. There's going to be growing pains. Those are some challenges, right? So I guess my question is thinking back to when you first not got on, but just when you were there, you were making the case to people that you were somebody they wanted to elect. What did you see at that time as challenges that Newton faced?
Well, the first time I ran, water rates are too high here, taxes are too high here. It's really hard to work around that, and the sad truth is oftentimes people will vote for change just because they don't like the way they feel about their locality. Taking the time to figure out who is a city commissioner that's going to lead them somewhere someday. Unfortunately, people don't take the time to try to figure that out, The first time I ran, I got a 2-year term. I got third place. And the sad truth about most elections are that people, number one, they'll vote for change. If you were a commissioner and they think their water rates are too high and their taxes are too high, they'll vote for the new guy. It doesn't matter if the new guy has credentials or what. They're just willing to bet on the new guy, and that's really dangerous. And I think it was 37 votes. If the other guy would have got 38 more votes, then I wouldn't be sitting here right now. And his big deal was he was going to lower water rates. Well, that's really popular here because, even I think water rates are too high here. But anyway, the challenge is getting known for who you are, and the fact that you understand what the problem is, and the fact that you see a pathway in the long term to moving us down in the pack of the people being at the top of the high tax list and at the top of the high utility list. And I think I've done that over a period of time. The second time I ran, I got second place behind Leroy. Leroy's a local boy, and name recognition is a big deal. Blame recognition is a big deal too. So I do know there are people that are still going to vote this next time just because they're willing to bet on change, and it's sad that it's that simple. It really is. Because if you take a look into the time that I've spent and what I do and being a CPA and understanding city budgets and having done city budgets myself, having done city audits myself, I know cities from the inside out. And actually, I have so much confidence in our city staff right now that as far as going to the city and trying to figure things out, I don't spend a tenth of the time that I used to spend back when I was trying to figure out what pathway we might be able to take to knowing it was long term to put Newton into the middle of the pack of compared to our peers of our tax mill levies and all of that. But I'm a numbers guy, and I sign almost everything a number in some fashion. I look back at the past. There was a 10-year period from 2012 to 2022 where our valuation increased to the point to where it added about $35,000 to what a mill would bring in taxes, and at that point in time, the part that brought in more money was about $30,000 from the residential sector and about $5,000 from the commercial sector, which meant that industrial growth sucked so bad that the increase in taxes was more, primarily on homeowners, and most people may not know this, but the way they do the valuation, they take the real value of your house, what they think you can sell it for, and then you multiply that times 11.5%, and that becomes your assessed valuation. But on businesses, they take the real value of their property and multiply it times 25%. To end up with the assessed value of that property. So you're motivated to increase commercial and industrial property because you get twice the bang for your buck that you do for the houses. And so if you're not doing that, any time that the city thinks they might need to raise the mill levy, then you got to raise it twice as much to come up with the same amount of money on a residential property compared to an industrial property. So I've talked a lot, and I'm trying to think what your original question was, but
just as far as challenges,
Yeah.
But this can lead into the next thing here.
yeah,
Because
that is the challenges.
Yeah.
The challenge is to get people to understand that there's a problem, then that we understand what the problem is, we know what it's going to take to solve the problem, and to be patient and let us do that. It may not help them a lot. If you're 70 years old and you want your taxes to go down, might not happen during your lifetime. And
and I gotta say this. I gotta say because of course I like to. I say it oftentimes. I'm a data junkie, right? And when you're talking about just let's put an age on it, right? Or if you have somebody in this demographic who wants for taxes to let's say potentially go down because of the long game that you're playing with economic development, that might not happen for them, but it will happen for younger generations.
It will. Yeah.
But the finger, I got to say this, when it comes to finger pointing in the blame game, if I'm in that age demographic and I'm wanting to find out why I'm in this situation, this is happening, that's something that can be pointed to 20 years, 30 years, 40 years before that. So, so okay, moving on to the next thing, and I want to give you an opportunity to hang your hat on some stuff here, Rod. Speaking of successes, right? Since you have been on the city commission to today, what would you want to tell people that you believe are successes that happened while you were part of the team and doing what you've been doing in order to make Newton a better place to live, work, and play?
Well, I go back to when we decided to do a survey. I'd been on the commission for almost a year, and that survey said, what do you guys want? And we had a lot of people take the survey, and what are you willing to pay for? And we took that survey and we plugged it into our long-range plan, knowing that we needed to experience some growth, but knowing we needed to change the culture too. The culture wasn't one of confidence that Newton was worthy to have big industry come in like GAF. The culture wasn't one of patience and that allowed you to implement a plan and do stuff that would increase the culture to the point to where it gave a business confidence that that's a culture they wanted to be part of. And we worked real hard on that. We took all of our debt, and not all of it, but we took all the debt that could be restructured, and we paid really special attention to when our maturities of that debt were, and this long range plan, we said, okay, we can't do this now, but we'll do this in 2 years because all of the Sand Creek stuff was going to be paid off at that time. And we plugged things in, and we were very deliberate about planning, and we took the survey and we did a pool upgrade when it was the right time. We replaced the press box and built new ball fields out at the baseball field, new restrooms out there. The last thing we plugged in was the library that's just been done. And on downtown right now, we have a grant program where we will grant businesses. It's an application process, and we do the ones that we think make the most sense. But where they can apply for a grant for the city to help pay for remodeling their facades, and our return ratio on that, for every dollar that we spent, the people spent like $13 or $14. So some of the stuff that happened on Main Street was a result of that program. But we were very deliberate about doing things that made people feel good about living in Newton. And it's interesting to me. I see some of the long timers that have lived here that post on Facebook, don't come to Newton, and it's like, and it's cool to see the newer people that have moved here. A lot of times they'll post and they say, hey, we moved here 2 years ago and we love it.
Yeah.
It's nothing compared to some of the stuff that was happening in my communities. I think the blinders on some of the people that have lived here for a long time have become so thick that culture hasn't creeped into their lifestyle. And I say this knowing that taxes are too high and water rates. I mean, I'm not going to try to act like that's okay. But what I will say, there's a reason for it. But the culture was probably the most important thing that happened. To sit back and watch when people said wild things on Facebook, someone else come on and say, hey, you don't know how bad things can be. I mean, I moved here from Ulysses, Kansas, and 73% of their tax base used to be from oil and gas revenue, and now it's down into the mid-teens, I think. So they've lost literally, 70% of their tax base, and just look what that does. Ulysses is still a great town, and it's always going to be my hometown, but their chances of even having a plan that'll work is really not very high because their culture's changed the other way.
Yeah.
So I don't know who might be looking to go to Ulysses, Kansas to do industrial development, but I can tell you here in Newton, I mean, just in the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've had 3 or 4 inquiries. We're pretty close to well, I probably shouldn't even say that yet, but we've got other things that are getting ready to happen that are happening because the change in that culture, and I really wish everybody would just hop on and give it a little time.
Yeah. Yeah, so, community culture is key. It really is. I had in the interview with Leroy, I believe that I had mentioned about the fact that years ago, I would say probably about 8 years ago, it seemed as though the perception in the community, especially when using social media as the platform in which to disseminate information, was negative.
Yeah.
People didn't like the situation we were in. They felt like we had kind of dug ourselves into a hole. And then realizing that now, I think people look back over the last few years. I mean, I know I have, and say, okay, well, none of this stuff is immediate, right? When we're talking about successes, but we're really seeing some very important things going on in our community. And if we are not telling the story of our community and projecting that out in a positive way, then that story's getting told, and it makes it really difficult.
Your neighbors are telling that story.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make you shine in the spotlight like when you tell that story.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also that negative and positive, and no community is perfect, and all communities have challenges, and like you had mentioned, I'm just interjecting this here. It wasn't very long ago that I did some research in my college days, right? One thing they wanted to point out was basically a mass migration that's taking place from places like Ulysses that you had mentioned out in western Kansas, because, well, they're just these communities that are stagnant. They don't have a lot of opportunities or resources to be able to platform off that. So people are moving, right? They're moving to other places in Kansas. And oftentimes that's Hutchinson, that's Newton, that's the surrounding area around Wichita. So we're kind of a bullseye over the next few years for people to move, especially families from those areas here. And so creating a culture that when people are looking up and saying, well, where do I want to go? Newton needs to shine. So that was some of my interjecting that in there, and I apologize for that, because it's not the interview. No. It's not Lance's interview. It's Rod's interview.
Well, it's real though, Lance.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So okay, with that, then coming to today, what do you feel going forward are some of the challenges that Newton is going to face, and given the fact that you very well may be elected again, what are some of those challenges that you see that you think you'd like to work on to make Newton a better place?
Well, the part of the plan was to do a good enough job at industrial development that, it's like a three-legged stool. You've got residential, you've got commercial, which would be retail and office buildings and things like that.
Yeah.
And then you've got industrial and our economic development has done and continues to do such a good job that we were hoping that the residential would kick in and the commercial would kick in to the point to where the new stuff that came on with that might increase the valuation to the point that the taxes from the new stuff handled at least the inflation part of the computation. Every year, you got 2 or 3% creep, and when that happens for 10 years, you got a 20% increase just because the same stuff you bought last year cost 2 or 3% more this year. And our hope is that, and we have, don't get me wrong, every city can cinch their belt up a little tighter. When you get it too tight, then it wears your staff out. I mean, when you spend, you can't spend a day trying to save $22 on some supply that they need. You can't get 10 bids on a box of paper. And so we'll never get crazy like that, but them on their own spend a considerable amount of time making sure that we don't spend any more money than is absolutely necessary. So we don't really have any wild spending in my eyes that we need to undo, but we really need to manage our money until these abatements start coming on. Like I said a while ago, 10 years ago, there was a period of time where the inflation was running pretty hard, and the residential handled the brunt of that. Well, our goal is that commercial industrial handles the brunt of that. If part of the computation is what your house is worth. When it goes up and you keep your mill levy the same, obviously your taxes go up. And we're hoping that when the value of your house goes up, that brings us more money that we don't need. So we lower the mill levy to make your taxes about the same as they were last year. But for a few years, we might have to take the increase in the value of residential because we're paying for infrastructure. Everybody knows if they've driven out by GAF and the logistics park that we made the choice to do Spencer and Hillside at the same time, and it's just been awful with the rain that we've had. So now we backed off of working on Spencer, so you got two-way traffic there, which is going to help with everything that's going on, but we have that infrastructure we have to pay for. We pay for it over a period of time with debt, but still that's an increase in cost outside of what inflation normally does to you. So our goal is to keep the mill levy the same even until we receive these tax abatement, and that's going to be a challenge. It's really going to be a challenge for the staff. But we've got really good staff, so I would say that's going to be our biggest challenge.
Yeah, and I'll say this about staff. I believe that our staff has a good culture, has a good internal culture where they want to see Newton be successful, and they're each individually doing whatever they can in their respective position to be able to to make sure that Newton is successful going down the road. And I'll also say, communication-wise, that our staff goes above and beyond to communicate effectively to anybody that has questions, that does so in a respectful manner, right? If you have a question about why something's going on, they'll bend over backwards to try to help you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think good city culture is important too. Rod, what does the future of Newton look like in your eyes?
It's it's really going to be fun 10 years from now, 11 years from now, 12 years from now. So far since the industrial boom here, there's been pretty close to 250 residential rooftops that have gone out. People drive through Fox Ridge. A lot of it's concentrated there. There's been other property bought, and for too long, I think you'll see some high-end houses going up, out at the golf course. When a house goes up and it's valued at $500,000, then that's $3,000, somewhere in the $3,000 range for the city for every one of those that goes up. And if they build 70 of them, things like that add up. It doesn't add up as quick on residential as it does commercial, but there's a tremendous golf culture out there, and our Sand Creek Station golf course is a golf course people want to retire next to. It's reasonably priced. They got great staff out there. Probably the best superintendent in the whole state of Kansas. Top to bottom, I would compare their staff with any staff anywhere, and there's not any one thing that you do that makes a community culture change, but we're doing everything that you need to do to make that culture change. So I think if you extrapolate that out, I think you're going to see more and more people move to Newton to retire. I think you're going to see more and more people move to Newton to work. I think you're going to see people from Wichita feel like it makes more sense to, there's a lot of people from Wichita that one spouse works in Newton, the other one works in Wichita, and I think you're going to see a lot of those people think, well, we'd rather live in Newton than we would, especially after the taxes get down into a little more competitive deal. But I think the future is really bright. I think the planning process we've done long term has been really effective, and I just see Newton as being. There was a point in time where I thought we'd live here for 6 or 7 years and then decide which kid to live close to, and we've made the decision to where we're gonna die in Newton someday. I hope it's not next Thursday.
Later than sooner, right?
Yeah. So anyway, it's just things have changed, and it's and I love Newton. I just love living here.
It's a great community with great people.
It is.
I will say that. I've oftentimes felt like we just absolutely need to double down on being able to tell our story and our message of what we offer here, and how Newton is a great place to live, work, and play. It really is, and it is attractive to everyone across the board, from people that want to retire, to families that want to raise their kids, to even younger people that may not be in that family mentality yet, that there will be those people, the other opportunities for people their age to be able to enjoy things that are going on. Okay, so just Rod, I mean, I know this is short. We could go on forever as far as that goes, and there's so much to cover that we probably haven't covered. But just in trying to keep these limited on time, I want to be able to just turn it over to you to kind of speak directly to the hearts and the minds of everybody that's listening, or be able to say whatever you'd like to say or leave people with. You got the floor, Rod.
Okay, thank you. When I moved here, I guess it was almost 16 years ago, I moved here because I had met the movers and shakers of Newton, mostly through Rotary Club. I'm very active in Rotary, and a lot of people don't know this, but I've been involved on a local and state level in bringing in hundreds of youth exchange kids over the last 43 years. And that put me in direct contact with Newton Rotary Club when I was in Ulysses, Kansas. I also, in my spare time, I raise money and help put together water and sanitation projects, mostly in Africa and South America. And in my spare time, I don't know how many millions of people that Rotary's provided free and safe drinking water to because of their grant programs that they have and their goal that not a single person has to drink water that's going to hurt them anywhere in the world. And we've done a he-man's job of doing that. I'm actually president of an international foundation that raises the money. I'm a person that cares. It bothers me a lot when I know we have seniors out there that are getting squeezed out of their home. When if you saw my piece on who I am and where I came from, I shared the story that my mother had to move out of her house because when Dad died, you lose one set of Social Security and you just can't afford to live there. There are places you can go to that are subsidized. The rent is subsidized, and my mom had to go through that. But I'm a person with experience. I'm a person that cares. I'm very compassionate. I'm very approachable. I actually spent an hour and a half yesterday with one of the candidates that's running for the same position I am because I care enough about Newton that if this person actually gets elected, and it's not an incumbent, if this person actually gets elected, I want him to do the best job that he can for Newton. And when you ran against me, I spent a lot of time with you. It's this
a lot of time.
Yeah, this isn't something I'm doing for my ego. It's not something that I'm doing to prove anything. I'm doing this because I care, and that I feel like that God gave me some skills that might increase our chances for effective change happening in the city of Newton. I don't know how to say it other than that. With some of the stuff that I've done in my business career and the fact that I'm familiar with how cities operate because of my CPA background, and quite frankly, I've done enough business around the United States and around the world that my connectivity has been a real asset when doing economic development. I was chair of economic development for the 2 years where literally we closed more deals than you'd have to go back and add up add up all of the industrial development for the last. I just welcomed a class of 1975 at their class reunion the other day. If you go clear back to 1975 and all the development from there clear to 2 years ago, it's nowhere near what happened in those 2 years. So that's how significant the growth has been. Did I do it myself? No. I mean, Beth Shelton at Eco Devo, she's the best ever. The staff at the city, yeah, I mean, the key to the whole thing is to get everybody moving in the same direction. And if you look back, why didn't we have? It's no one's fault, but there was always something keeping them from even climbing up the hump. You know, if you go back 10 years ago, the commissioners didn't get along, and they spent their time arguing about stupid stuff, really. And you know, maybe you have. I would tell you the most dangerous thing that can happen to community is when someone thinks they can go in there and cut spending. And you know, I mean, that's just real easy to say. It sounds really good, but we've already done that. So you know, there are things that if you don't have experience, you don't realize that you're screwing with the culture. And once the culture bad culture happens a lot quicker than good culture.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just I've just seen it happen in so many different places. But I want to be a part. This will be my last 4 years if I get elected, or 2 years if I get elected. 2 years, because I'm 70 years old, and I take being at city commission meetings seriously. So there's a lot of travel we haven't done because I've chose to. We did go to Alaska, and I missed a meeting the other day. But
wasn't that for like your 50th wedding anniversary, Rod?
It was. So at some point in time, you know, you got to put yourself at least on an equal plane with the seriousness of what I would like to accomplish before my stint with being a Newton City Commissioner or Newton Mayor is over. So people need to know that all the city commissioners care, and they're in the thing we do that we don't do for the benefit of the community. It may hurt a little bit, and like I said, you know, knowing that the pressure seniors have in an inflationary environment, you know, that really bothers me. But you can't fix it unless you stick to your plan, and we've adapted our plan 2 or 3 times. You know, I mean, the sewer debt that we have, it was supposed to be paid off now, and we couldn't see a way to get it paid off without it hurting too much. So you know, any plan you have to be willing to adapt to what is best for the community, but you still have to be rigid enough that the plan works, because if you adapt too many times, then you're just back to treading water, and you're not really swimming toward the shore. So anyway, I hope people vote for me. I do want to serve. I take it very seriously. I'm very compassionate towards the plight of the people of Newton. But my goal is to fix this long term, and we're working great together at the city as teammates with staff and the other commissioners, and I just want to keep going for 2 or 4 more years. So
okay.
That's me.
Well, I appreciate you, Rod. I appreciate all the investments you made in my life as well, and the mentorship and the friendship and whatnot, and always being willing to come on the program and support what I'm doing, and support just so many different entities and people and organizations in the community. I got to say, vote for Rod.
Thank you.
And I just got to sign off. Tell everybody, I appreciate you listening to this HC Talk podcast. As always, I was your host, Lance Gormley, and our guest on the program today was Newton City Commissioner and former Mayor Rod Kreie, and hope to have you continue your service with us.
Thanks, Lance.
Into the future as long as you'd like. Have a good one, everybody.